My Zelda by Gracie Eland. As the lyrics soared through the clouds, Zelda Berg was high off her ass. She felt the buzz coming, just the right balance between the secanols and the dexies, the alcohol and whatever else she'd put in her system. Maybe it was coke. Someone had brought some in. It seemed they let anyone into the band's massive party blimp these days. Her blimp, really. Sure, the band had souped it up with everything they needed for a rager, but Zelda had created the band. She was the band. No matter what Will the drummer said, or Sean the guitarist, or... No, she wouldn't think about him. Anyway, Iron Desire, the rock band of the century, was hers, and so was the lyric. Zelda babe, said Ro, the newest guy Zelda had let stick around, mostly because he had the best weed. There's some guy here that says he got something good. Really, she responded, keeping her voice tart. When it came to managing a group of men, most dumbed down by the booze, it was best to have an edge. She perfected it over the years. Had to, after. Oh yeah, some designer shit. He says it's just what you're looking for. Zelda doubted it. A lot of highball dealers came to Lyric boasting some new pill or drink that could make the highs last forever, but they were always bullshit. The highest highs always meant the lowest lows. And Zelda couldn't afford the lowest lows. She preferred her usual cocktail of drugs, just enough to keep her soaring. Still. Take me to him. I give you Lucid, a pill that knocks you right out, and... Zelda raised her eyebrows at the dealer, his dirty leather jacket. He had a derelict but fabulously wealthy look about him, the usual kind of rich boy chasing after a wild and dangerous life of high-stakes crime. He stood just in front of one of the long couches in the center of the lyric, a ring of curious guests encircling him. I'm not interested in a sleeping pill, Zelda said, her arms crossed. It won't take you to sleep, the dealer said, holding the pill up to the light for all the guests to see. One side was a dusty gray, the other a shiny green. It'll take you elsewhere. So a hallucination, then. He winked at her, if that's what you're into. It wasn't what she, or any of these people, insomniacs frightened of their own shadows, were into. He'd chosen the wrong venue. As if sensing her hesitation, the dealer thrust the pill towards her. It only lasts for 5 minutes, and the hallucinations are completely under your control. Zelda plucked the pill from the dealer's hands. This was certainly new, though probably as bullshit as the rest of the drugs she tried. Hallucinations controlled you, not the other way around. She would know all about that. But just the thought of having control, even in a hallucination, was worth something, right? She swallowed it with a swig of Red Bull and sat on one of the overcrowded couches lining the blimp's interior. It took a few seconds for the pill to take effect, and even then it was as gentle as closing a curtain, as gradual as falling asleep. Dimly, Zelda wondered how the pill would react to the other drugs in her system, but by then it was too late. She was gone. 1 minute. Realizing that she was still in the lyric instead of some magical world was disappointing, at first. But Zelda appreciated the ghostly glow of the blimp's pimped-out interior, the shadowed wraiths of party guests as they danced, and the haze in the air. She could just see a pair of partiers taking slurred shots on the couch she'd fallen asleep on, hardly disturbing the milky green cobwebs covering it in ethereal sheets. People surrounded her, but they were separate, belonging to a different world, existing on a plane beyond her own. They were there, but at the same time, not. She wanted to join them, but they were out of her reach. Her feet disturbed the mist that had settled on the floors. The whole place felt inconsistent, erratic. It was like wading through the muffled sound that sometimes scratched from her guitar. She was seeing a blurry world through sunglass shades, no longer taking part in it, only forced to watch it move on. 2 minutes. A voice echoed through the lyric, abrupt, haunting, and sharp. It split the mist, and Zelda's heart, in a singular definitive drumbeat, one that could break a melody in half. She stumbled and fell to the sticky floor. Mist scattered around her, retreating and reforming like an ocean tide. She knew that voice as well as she knew herself. It had defined what it meant to be herself. Screw this hallucination. She wanted out. She had no control. The voice called out again, closer this time. Zelda pushed herself up and backed away. No, she would not think about him now. She would not go to him. She heard the snap of fingers in the distance. Zelda. 3 minutes. Zelda's heart was beating so fast it felt like it wasn't beating at all. Her breath dived back into her lungs. The voice's owners slid through the mist. She backed away again, bumping the wooden table at the center of the lyric, usually overburdened by alcohol, lines of coke, abandoned glasses, and writhing bodies. Now it was vacant and dead, just like the voice. Zelda, it's been a while. The voice was the same as it always had been. Seductive, lyrical, Nico's voice. His fingers snapped together, a tick that never went away. His gait was casual, untroubled, patient. Even when he was at his angriest, when his abuse struck like lightning through her, there was something endlessly patient about him, as if he knew every move she'd ever make, and that regardless of what she wanted, her path would always lead back to him. Stay away, she spat, hugging her shoulders. Every instinct made her crawl back in on herself. You're dead. The dead don't die as long as they're remembered, Nico said, stepping closer. His collar was blood-stained. And I'm so touched you've remembered me. I've tried to forget, Zelda snapped, ducking her head, expecting one of Nico's sharp blows, but none came. His fingers only snapped, and he only kept coming closer. 4 minutes. Nico's face was smooth, his skin stiff. Only his snapping fingers moved with the approximation of human action. A drop of blood leaked from his nose and fell into his shirt collar. Zelda remembered when she found him after one of their parties, blood staining his nose. Sleeping pills. She hadn't even bothered trying to resuscitate him, so stiff and lifeless his body had been. I own you, pretty thing, he whispered. I made you. Zelda remembered the first record deal she'd signed at Nico's encouragement, the way he'd slid pills into her pocket and drinks in her hand. He'd always been there, a guiding hand, so swiftly turning to a fist when he didn't get what he wanted. His fingers snapped. 5 minutes. Zelda closed her eyes and felt tears drop down her cheeks. I will forget you. No, Nico said, his voice pitying. You will honor me with your life, with your talent. She felt cold, dead hands stroke her cheek. A ghostly whisper caressed her ear. Sing for me, baby. You have such a lovely voice, so husky and broken. Never again. A snap of his fingers, a voice rusted by decay and unwanted memories. I will haunt you forever, my Zelda. My Zelda. When Zelda resurfaced, she felt more frightened and more desperate than she had in a long time. The cacophony of the lyrics steadied her soul. A group of partiers were taking turns shotgunning beer. Ro was sticking smoking joints into a random girl's hair. Music pounded through the blimp's many speakers, one of Iron Desire's first hit songs. This was the land of the living. She was safe, right? But as the party continued to rage, Zelda felt wrong. She looked at her shaking hands, whether from fear of the drugs, she wasn't sure. She was out of control. She never had any control in the first place, she realized. An animal born in a cage doesn't know any different. But what becomes of an animal who creates its own cage? You will honor me. No more. She couldn't go on like this. Not even with the pill's delicious aftertaste burning in her throat, coaxing her for more. And just behind Zelda, with a smile on his face, the dealer snapped his fingers.